They say every man reaches a breaking point, a moment when something inside finally snaps. For me, it happened on a Thursday night. Quiet, ordinary. The kind of evening where you expect calm, not conflict. My wife, Alyssa, stood by the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone with that smirk she always wore when she wanted to get under my skin. We hadn't been fighting. Not really, just drifting apart. Lately, her tone had grown colder. The warmth of love had been replaced with subtle digs, eye rolls, and a sarcasm sharper than any argument ever could be. That night, she looked up at me, her eyes glinting with teasing cruelty, and said, "You better start behaving, or my lips might go somewhere else." Her words slithered out like venom dressed as a joke. She even laughed. But behind the laughter, I saw the truth, a test. She wanted to see how far she could push me, how much disrespect I'd tolerate before I broke. I stood frozen for a moment, watching her smirk fade when she realized I wasn't laughing. My heart pounded, not with anger, but with an unsettling quiet. I took a deep breath, stepped forward, and said calmly, "If that's how you feel, then you can leave now." Her eyes widened. The confidence she wore like armor cracked in an instant. "Wait, what?" she stammered, voice shaking. I didn't repeat myself. My silence spoke louder than any yelling ever could. For a long second, she just stared, stunned, as if the script she had written in her head had dissolved. She wasn't expecting me to call her bluff. Women like Alyssa rarely do. They get so used to your patience, your forgiveness, your quiet compliance that they forget silence can be final too. Her face shifted from shock to anger. "You're seriously kicking me out over a joke?" she snapped, voice trembling between disbelief and panic. But I didn't respond. I'd spent years reacting, explaining, pleading for peace. Not tonight. Tonight, I was done performing for someone who thrived on watching me lose myself. I just said calmly, "It wasn't a joke. You meant what you said, and I mean what I said." She stared at me like I'd become a stranger. Maybe I had. The man who once begged for her attention was gone. What stood before her now was someone she couldn't manipulate anymore. She started pacing, muttering under her breath about how I'd regret this, how I was throwing away our marriage. Her words fell flat, because deep down I realized the truth. I hadn't destroyed the marriage. She had. The moment she thought disrespect was playful, the moment love became leverage. She grabbed her bag, waiting for me to stop her. But I stayed still, not out of pride, but from a newfound peace. I had finally stopped confusing tolerance with love. When the door closed behind her, it wasn't anger I felt. It was relief. Heavy, quiet, liberating relief. The first night alone was silent, almost painfully so. The kind of silence that feels like a wound at first, then slowly begins to heal. I sat on the couch, staring at the spot where her shoes used to be scattered. Funny how you can live with someone for years and still realize you never truly knew them. She texted that night, then the next morning, then again. At first, her words were angry, blaming, mocking, full of denial. But when she saw I didn't respond, panic began to seep through. "Can we talk?" Turn into "please." I didn't mean it like that. And eventually, I made a mistake. I didn't need her apology. I needed my peace, and that's exactly what I reclaimed. Sometimes love doesn't end with fire or chaos. Sometimes it ends quietly, with the realization that being disrespected slowly erodes you more than loneliness ever could. I wasn't heartless. I remembered the laughter, the dreams, the good times we'd shared. But I also remember the look in her eyes that night, daring me to prove I was still a man worthy of respect. So I did. Weeks passed. The text stopped. Silence became familiar, even comforting. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel small, unwanted, or uncertain. I felt free, because sometimes the most powerful thing a man can say is nothing at all.